Hey guys, welcome to another day on the shop. Yeah, that's pretty corny, but we're gonna work on the boat. So, about a year ago, this coming up month is when my boat broke. You may not can see me, but I'm being towed right now. But as you see, the LEDs in the cab are doing great. I haven't taken the time to work on it or anything else. This is a 96 man array with a 4.3 Mercruiser Alpha 1 stern drive. We were running and all of a sudden it just cut completely out. I don't know if I have wire gremlins or if the ignition coil went out. I started checking through things, battery's good. So the alternator shouldn't have had an issue with that, because I've tried to jump it and everything else just to get it started, and so that's not my issue. Oil pressure, it built oil pressure as I cranked it afterwards. So that's not my issue. The next thing I have to look at is, I've already looked at fuses, but I'm going to go through fuses again. I'm going to go through the spark plugs, and I'm going to go through the ignition coil. I think I'm getting everything else. And yeah. So, and we'll check the fuel just to make sure, even though I should have fuel. But in the process of this, I do have new fuel filter. New oil, new stern oil, and everything I can imagine, mostly in this box. Heck, I even bought a new distributor cap. Why? Because I'm not sure what it is. So we're gonna pull the rest of this stuff out to make some room, and we're probably gonna toss it over next to my weed eaters that shouldn't be in the shop, but they are. And we're gonna make some room in there so I can run through this thing and just start knocking stuff out, eliminating stuff until this thing cranks up and runs on its own. Once it does that, then we'll start looking at changing fluids and whatnot. So let's get in here. All right, so we've accomplished that. So we've got nothing in the way. We're going to check the oil. I'm going to check, I know the power steering should be good. I'm going to check the alternator and see if I have anything on it. Fuel, we need to check it. Make sure we're getting fuel up here. We're going to recheck the batteries because, like I said, it hasn't been ran in a year. So I do have a secondary battery, a leisure battery. If you've never checked out the smart battery isolator, it's pretty awesome. So what it does is it charges this second battery, but it never pulls from the second battery unless that little switch is flipped. So if it's never grounded out, it doesn't revert power back to the main system. It keeps it stored in that battery in case of jump starts, or if you want to use that battery for your party lights or stereo or whatever else you want. You use that one, and if that one dies, you still have your main one and you're not using that. Because yeah, I've got my my battery backup, but I want to use it for my stereo. So in case of anything, I can run that sucker down to the ground and I still have the actual regular old battery. And then I have a solar panel as well to trickle charge while I'm riding the boat. Alright, so let's start knocking some stuff out. Let's get some paper towels up here and start checking stuff, and then let's turn this thing over, make sure the battery's working, and go down this list like I just said. We got to get this thing running. I want to take it out at least once this year. I've already paid for registration, so you might as well. And my kids go to school soon, so let's get it done. Alright, so got the battery tender up here, and we're going to hook this thing up first. I don't even care if nothing works or it does work or whatever else. We're going to pop this stuff off, pop this stuff on, and let this thing do its magic. It's off, it's at 10. Alright, there we go, it's at 6 amps. It's going to charge this thing up. That tape is nasty, it's sticky. Alright, let's go through and start checking some fluids and fuel. Alright, went and got the keys. Let's cut this thing on just a little bit. Alright, what all we got? For some odd reason, my lights are on. That doesn't help. Where are my lights on? I don't know when my lights are on. See, there's finicky stuff about. And I can't cut them off. Every time I switch on something, my fuel gauge dies. So something's not right. Something is afoot. And my wiring harness is not acting right. So let me figure something out. Alright, well, going up under there, it's only an 8 fuse panel up front. Everything looks good. I'm going to replace all the fuses anyway, but everything looks good and it's checking out. So the next thing is coming back in this wiring mess and figuring out what I need to look at and do, because I've got something that's either grounded out or whatever, and I gotta start tracing wires back, because if the ignition comes on, my lights come on, and I don't think that's supposed to happen. It may or may not, I don't know. I've never had it happen before, unless your nav lights or whatever are on. But yeah, never had that happen, and just gotta keep looking. Alright, so I did find one thing and I corrected it. I found one ground that wasn't hooked to the battery. Now, as we saw before, anytime I clicked the bilge or the blower, they both came on and lit up. If I disconnected them, they would have 12 volts on either side. But now, click it, blower works. Click it, bilge works. Alright, navigation lights don't work. Courtesy lights work. Stereo works. Alright, do all my lights come on? Yeah, I guess that's what they do. I don't know. But, all in all, that's one ground. I have found another ground that is not placed anywhere, but it doesn't look like it goes anywhere that I can find. So I don't know how that works. So I'm going to ground it to the block, because it's on the block. And then my oil pressure sender, one of the pieces chipped off. I think it did that way before, and I think I JB welded it to make sure it's just not going anywhere. Might do that again. But obviously I need to get another one. I might have another one on my shelf, because I think I ordered 2 at one point. So I need to replace that again, and then start looking at getting a different style, because this one's so prone to breaking, it's not even funny. I don't like that. So well, we got one thing done. Just one thing. Let's keep looking through everything and trying to figure this out, because we might fix this thing without really doing much other than just plugging in some wires, which would be awesome. Yeah, it's a wiring mess back there. What I might do is also, if I can, I'll untangle untape all those wires and put them where they come up and over and down instead of drooping right there in front of the battery, so that it's a little bit more organized and they don't get caught up in everything. So let me do that. Well, I tidied these wires up a little bit better. They go around instead of straight across, so I like that more. It's not the greatest, but they're all tied together, tied with the steering rod, tube, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so got bilge, that stereo, courtesy lights, no navigation lights, is unplugged, horn. Alright, let's see, not enough voltage. I wonder why. We'll find out. Well, I'm trying to crank it over. Batteries are pretty dead, but you can watch. I just got turned over for the first time. So, yeah. So now we're going to test spark plugs and whatnot and see if that's part of an issue. Well, just tested the spark out. Used an old spark plug wire, plugged it up. Put this against the carburetor, put it against the spark plug, and it every round clicked on. So yeah, kind of stumped right now. I don't think the battery's dead, but it could be. So we're going to work with that right now and keep it going. So fixed the ground, and we've got ignition. Do we have fuel, or is it clogged? So we're going to find that out too, as well as we're going to look at all the spark plugs, see if anything happened to the spark plugs. I'm going to call it a night for today and get back to it tomorrow. We're going to knock this thing out and we're going to get done, because I'm not going to sit here and let this happen. Well, I went through everything again, looked at all the wires again, and tried to start it up with full batteries, and what's going on now is it's backfiring. So I'm going to pull all the plugs, look at them, see what's going on. It looks like I got some wetness in the carb. Don't know what that is, either oil or whatever. Fuel, which it shouldn't be still. So we're just going to check all the spark plugs real quick, and then I got a new cap and rotor just in case, and we're just going to go ahead and redo that. So it seems like it's still wet with fuel. It reeks of fuel, so it's flooded pretty good right now. I'm just going to pull them all out, and then we'll probably do a compression test as well, just to knock it out. So we're going to pull all the plugs, do a compression test, clean these up a little bit because they still look good. They're just full of fuel right now, and then we're going to go from there. So most of them are still wet from 2 days ago, so that's not good. A little bit of oil, fuel. So let me get my compression tester out, and we're going to screw that in, and we're going to test all the cylinders real quick. Then put all these back in and change out that cap and rotor, and that should be one part. And then, yeah, and the fuel filter and so on and so forth to see what we can do towards getting this thing back up and running. Alright, with compression testers you don't need the most expensive of everything, but it does help to have some quality with it. It will last longer, but as long as you take care of your good stuff, it normally works out. So we're going to compare some threads and see what we got. Looks like it's this one, a normal. So we're going to pop this on, turn this engine over, and get some numbers. Alright, got about 170, so that's good. That's the first one. Let's keep going. Not quite as good, but it's still good, so that's right up under 170. It's about 163. Alright, down a little bit more, 150, so we're working our way. Alright, we got a little bit of a difficulty here. We're going from 170 to 120. That's not good. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but we're going to keep going. I'm going to check this one more time. It's starting to look like we got a dead cylinder possibly. Let's keep going. Another 125-ish. Last one. So I got one side at basically in the 120s and the other side at the 170s. I don't get that. But yeah. So we're good to go now. We've got all our pressures. It should still run. So let's check on this cap and rotor. Alright, my sweaty self. I think I found the culprit. So when this is sitting in here, it's not supposed to do this. So pull this off. Hey, there's a little channel right here. Look in here. There's a little channel that's broke off. In this new one, there's a channel in there for that piece. My timing's off completely. So yeah, that's something to look for. I got a little bit more gasket material to take off with the razor blade right here, and we'll clean that out and switch that out. Alright, well, we replaced that. Time to put the cap back on and hook the rest of these wires up, which there's only two because I want to make sure I got all the ones I needed. I got to reuse my screws as well in here, so I know which ones go where and everything. And there's 4 screws and they're kind of tight in the cap, so you gotta put some pressure on them to unscrew them. It looks like you gotta put pressure to screw them in too. So we got it. Alright, the cap's back on, the rotor's on. It's hot. Let's see if this thing will actually crank now that the rotor's not just turning on its own and it's turning with the engine. So yeah, let's do that. It's turning. Struggling a little bit, but it's turning. Needs to warm up. Get some fuel. Yes. Yes. That's excitement. Time to get this thing in the water. Alright, well, we got the whole 4.3 running, all due to this. But right now it's running like doo-doo. And I have a feeling it's probably because of a dirty carb, because it's been sitting for a year with fuel in it, and yeah, and that's the only other thing I can guess, because as it runs it will idle-ish, but at the same time once you try to give it gas at all, it just starts spitting and sputtering like it's not getting enough fuel. So you get a little starter fluid and it idles perfect, but I mean it doesn't if you just let it sit there. But the goal was get this thing running, find out the fix. We found the fix. We got it started. Now we got to perfect it. So if you need any parts, I'll put them in the link in the description below, between the fuel filter and the cap and rotor kit. Anything else that you've seen as of spark plugs and everything else, they'll be in a previous oil change video. And I'll do that again soon, update my oil change as of oil in this and foot oil with spark plugs. So yeah, I appreciate you joining in for another episode of the shop. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything, put them in the comments below. Check out Teespring, check out Instagram and TikTok and Patreon and all that. Till next time.